to begin with. Here we go.
Hey everyone, Mr. Devil here, Kenny Danico, 3-time Stanley Cup champion of the New Jersey Devils, and you're listening to the Uncle Puckers New Jersey Devils podcast. Let's go Devils!
Yeah. We are the Uncle Puckers, Bobby, Tony, Baghead. I'm Chris. Tim is at the point now where he's just not ready to show his face. He's so embarrassed by how horrible this team has been playing. We're going to get into it, but shit is broken in New Jersey, and we're your therapy session to help walk you through it. And, maybe we can get over this. Keep the bag on.
Well, you fucking revealed my identity. Like, I was trying to, like...
Yeah, but we didn't want to look at your face.
Tim,
Just put a little hole where the mouth is.
do you... yeah, you say that to all the
struggling
boys.
to breathe in there, right, guys?
All right, we'll let you out.
There's only 4 of us really, because Dan's kind of MIA that are on the show at all. I think people could have figured it out. A special guest.
Yeah.
It's not like the unknown comic, right?
Well, yeah, you also said, and Tim, who's wearing a bag on his head.
I did say
So-
I think
that.
you just called
But-
it Baghead.
I don't know.
No, I said
Clues.
Tim.
You did say Tim, aka
I'm,
Baghead.
We can
I'm
call
no
you
Columbo, but I can piece that together.
Oh, guys, this was a rough weekend. This was a rough weekend for football. It was a rough week. Well, for you, Tim. It was my bad weekend was the week before. But I did find solace in the fact, before we get into hockey, that we ended up playing exactly the same amount of playoff games as the Detroit Lions. So a big fuck you to Dan Campbell, the Detroit Lions, and every goddamn Lion fan out there. A
Did you
big
guys-
old F you.
Chris, did you see that there was a post from Gibbs from the team that had the play, like, I guess the day before the game or something, he put a picture of one of the guys on the team, and behind him was all the Lions plays. And they brought it up during the press conference. They said, did you see this? It was, what is it? Gibbs. I think he was getting a picture of Jefferson, but it was like right in front of this board, and all the Lions plays were on this board. Now what?
That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw
That's
that.
awesome. Yeah, they deserved it. And I think we're going to have a rematch of the Super Bowl, the second one that the Bills lost. I think it's going to be Buffalo versus Washington. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. I mean,
Could be.
Straight-
Washington looked fucking really good, man.
Dude,
Yeah, I guess they had all. Of Detroit's plays, right?
but who's going to
Wow.
beat Kansas City and all the officials? I mean, that's a hard one right there.
Yeah, that's
You
the
know.
thing. Can you beat Patrick Mahomes and every official that does? And look, I am never the conspiracy guy, but I watched that game and I'm just like, man, they are in it for Kansas City, aren't they? I would love to get to a point where my team is the team that gets all those calls and everybody hates. I want to get to that point when you win enough that everybody hates you except for your diehards.
I mean, I think most people, unless you're a Chiefs fan, like it's gotten to that point now, right? Like I'm not, like, as a Yankee fan, I experience it a little bit when your team wins all the time and everybody hates you,
Yes.
but it's been a while. But I think if you're not a Chiefs fan, how could you root for that team? I don't know. I mean, of course, again, I'm a Raider fan, so there's a lot of hatred there. But just in general, when it was the Cowboys back when we were younger, when it
Mhm.
was the Patriots,
Patriots.
you know, the Astros, like, you just get tired of it after a while if you're not, you know, especially if you're not a fan of that
Devils.
squad. The
Oh,
Devils.
Yeah,
no
I mean,
way.
like, even though the Bills just beat the Ravens, and I was absolutely crushed last night. There's no chance in hell of rooting for Kansas City. Like, absolutely not.
No.
So
Like,
I was
and I'd actually like to see the city of Buffalo get a W because they don't have much else
Absolutely.
going for them.
Absolutely. I mean, just so they can like make it through the rest of the winter, which will probably just be buried in snow and icicles for the rest of it until spring. So at least give them something to be happy about. I hope Buffalo wins it. And it was like, I don't like, I've said it, I don't like Lamar Jackson. I know he is phenomenal. I know he's such a great quarterback, but there's just, when he just never wins in the big game, and everybody talks this guy as the greatest ever and all this MVP stuff. And I get it. He's a really good regular season. And I was saying this to my wife last night, and she's like, well, Buffalo never won either. Why do you not feel that way about Josh Allen? I said, well, to me, it's like, I feel like Lamar always has the team around him and he ends up failing in the playoffs, like personally throwing a bad pick or just, not whatever, where Josh Allen never has a team around him and loses because of that, because, he does crazy shit in the playoffs, and then they lose off of some stupid, like that 13 seconds. If they give you give them the ball 4 years ago or whatever it was, and before they changed the overtime rules, Buffalo's going to the Super Bowl, not Kansas City. But he's just been phenomenal in the playoffs. I love Josh Allen. I like Buffalo. I hope it's Buffalo, Washington, because I definitely don't want to see the Eagles there.
And I know who Bobby's house is rooting for. I know who I saw the colors. I know who Bobby's house is rooting for. Speaking of Eagles, ugh.
Oh man,
what's it like living?
Bobby's in Eagle land over there, aren't you, B?
It's the better of all the teams, to be honest.
Spoken
the
like
other fan bases are actually worse.
No, I mean, if I was in Pennsylvania, I think I would definitely be more of a Pittsburgh fan than a Eagle fan.
Well,
if you're east of Harrisburg, you're Eagles. West of Harrisburg, you're Pittsburgh. Last night wasn't on Lamar at all. Like, I mean, he had actually a great game. He put together that drive, at the end of the game. Yeah, he had a fumble, but that was after a bad snap. The pick he threw, he just kind of jumped the route a little bit, and I think it was Bateman he was throwing to. But unfortunately, he's going to get fucking murdered by the press all summer for the same thing that happened over and over.
No, but it wasn't on him. I mean, the heat's going to be on Andrews for the whole offseason. He didn't even come out and take any questions after the game, and I don't blame him, man. Like, you're a great tight end. Everybody knows that Mark Andrews knows how to play, and it's just circumstance, right? It's a wet, slippery ball. It's the pressure. And look, there's over a minute left. I'm fully confident. I wanted to see him tie it because I was like, you're giving Allen a minute 15 to go down and kick a field goal to win this thing. Like, this is over. Buffalo's going to win no matter what. It's how I felt. But It was very anticlimactic.
People question Harbaugh a lot too. Like, he went for 2 earlier in the game. I really didn't like that decision because it just kicking the extra point would have tied the game at 21. Mm-hmm. But because he went for 2 earlier in the game, they didn't convert. Then they had to go for 2 at the end of the game. So it's just, compounding issues like that. It just sucks. But
I go back to last year's AFC Championship game where he just didn't run the ball. It was like, why did you got to that game by running all year, and then in the most important game of your season, you completely just avoid the run and put it all on Lamar's shoulders? I didn't understand that.
Yeah, it's dumb. It's dumb. People call him for his head in Baltimore.
He's not.
I saw some stat today that the last 15 years it's been Brady or Mahomes in the championship. Without not one miss.
Wow, that's depressing.
Nobody likes that. By the way, Brady's awful in the booth, man.
I disagree entirely.
Really?
I will defend Tom Brady as the color guy. I like him. I like that Romo is the worst. All right. Like, I know that Romo gets a lot of hate, but my God, like, first of all, like, if you get a game that he's not very interested in, it's obvious that he's not very interested in it. But when you get a game like last night that he's interested in, he's like a little kid. Like, remember when I told you they were going to do this, Jim, right? I told you when Josh Allen has the opportunity, I told you that, right, Jim? And look, this is what he did, right, Jim? Like a little kid. Like, just
Chris Collinsworth sucks, man.
Oh, Collinsworth is so bad.
Here's a guy. Here's a guy.
Here's a guy.
Look at Patrick Mahomes. Here's a guy. I'd suck Patrick Mahomes' dick. Did I say that out loud? Oh, shit.
That's why
I
we
like
the hole in the bed.
Tom Brady as the color guy. I think he does a good job. I like the way he's passionate about the game. He explains it, I think, in a way that, people can kind of understand. I don't think he oversells shit. I just think he's good at what he does. For a first-year guy, I think he's good. And I think he's done after this year. I don't think he's doing it again.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, I know we talked about this, Chris, me and you. I believe, and I'm going to say this on the record, and I may regret this, but I believe that Tom Brady is going to change the Raiders organization. I think there's going to be a certain demand with that team now that he's been calling a lot of shots over there already. I think he'll bring a good coach in. I think he'll bring a good GM. I think the guys that we're going to hire, we would never get a chance to hire without Tom Brady in that office because Vegas is a mess, as we know. So I have to admit, I won't say hate. I hated the guy when I was younger, but then I realized he was great. It took me a long time to realize he was really great. And when I did, there was a certain appreciation there for him. As much as when he went to the Bucs and won, I was like, you got to be kidding me. But I do believe there's a lot of respect for that dude in the league. And, I think he's going to be out of the booth too, because I think it's going to be like a conflict of interest. Because I already see people talking a bunch of trash already about it.
But I think I think I agree with you. I think absolutely that culture has to change. You can't have a guy like Tom Brady come in and not have him demand exactly what you're saying, excellence across the board, change the culture. I don't think he'll put up with anybody's bullshit, even Mark Davis's. And I think you guys are in really good hands. But how does
I
Mark
saw a
Davis?
picture. I saw a picture of Brady with
the haircut.
With the haircut.
Yeah,
I was like,
my wife got me a autographed Crosby helmet for my birthday this weekend.
Oh,
which
that's
was awesome.
awesome.
that's really cool.
Yeah, we got a cat too. I broke the rule of no pets too. We got a
That's
Spanish
Max Crosby, everyone, by the way.
Ukraine. Yeah.
You got a what?
So my wife, they wanted a pet in this house for a while. I keep on saying no, no, no. We travel, back to Florida or wherever. But my wife talked me into it. So we have a new cat named Medusa that we got from
Nice.
Ukraine, that got bombed in a shelter, and they bought her here. So when I heard the story, I caved, and
Nice.
now we have a Ukrainian cat running around the house.
That's awesome. Does it meow with an accent?
It does.
Awesome?
You know what's funny? It makes some weird ass sounds. I don't know, but it's probably seen some shit. So
Yeah. It's a traumatic, fucking traumatized cat. I love it.
It's in the perfect
Vodka
house.
meow. Vodka meow.
Well,
Vodka
I
meow.
think we're here to talk about the weekend that was for the New Jersey Devils. And
Can we
do
before
we
we
have
get
to?
specifically into the New Jersey Devils, can we do more of just kind of a hockey complaint that I have here? I think we've
Absolutely.
talked about it before, but these NHL showcase games, right? Where the whole point, it's a showcase game. It was the Devils, was a national game. Do they feel that it's not necessary to showcase all the best elements of hockey, and they're just going to put whoever they want to call these games in like the worst possible way? I don't know who this Kevin guy was calling the game, and Kevin Weeks was doing the color, but it's just brutal and it's awful. And if you're showcasing the game, like, why can't they spend a little money and get, like, I don't know, somebody who really knows how to call a game? I mean, any local guy
Snoop
can probably
Dogg?
call it better than these guys. Snoop
What
Dogg.
game are you talking about? Because they were both on NHL Network. I was able to watch.
I didn't see
Ottawa-
the Philly game, so it was the Ottawa game.
I saw
Okay,
it.
because I
Yeah.
watched the Ottawa
Well,
game on the
Sorry, go ahead.
MSG broadcast. I watched Bill and Danico, but I couldn't get that one. I had to for the Flyer game. I had to watch it with EJ Hradek and I think it was Kevin Weeks. And no, it was it EJ and
Yeah, it's EJ and Weeks for Ottawa.
Weeks? Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, but I'm with Bobby. I don't know who the guy was for Ottawa, but like he was awful. Like I think it's
was
like
he?
his fucking. It was like his
He
first
lit-
fucking game. Like I don't know.
He literally made hockey like seem more boring than it is. Like he brought hockey down, and I was like, "This is incredible!" Like there's guys skating on knives on the ice, and you're like making me feel like this is the most boring shit ever. I just don't understand why we don't have like a real quality, seasoned kind of guy when you're showcasing this as a national broadcast. That's one element you want great as well. Like let's bring Doc back out. Let's get him going for one game a month or whatever it is.
And they're not even at the
I
game.
wish.
They're in a studio,
know.
calling it from a
They're in
studio.
booth
It's like
somewhere.
yeah, it's
awful.
just I
Maybe it was the performance too, Bobby, that made you. Bored.
Good point,
It's
Tony.
part of that.
There it is. There it is.
It's definitely part of that, but it just doesn't make any sense to me because you're not bringing the best of the game out when your broadcast team, and nothing gets, I actually like Weeks as a color guy. He's fine. But when you call the game, like you got to have a certain skill set to do that. You can't just let anybody in your, office in New York City just call the game from wherever. It's stupid.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Hey,
I mean,
Stan from accounting, get over here. We need you. for
It's your
2.5
turn, buddy.
hours.
Well,
I mean, I'm getting like bang for my buck with Fubo though, because I only bought it for fucking NHL Network because I don't get it on my cable system here. And so I was like, oh, the last like 4 out of the last 5 or 6 games have been on NHL Network.
Yeah.
I know what
Yeah.
they're doing too, because the NHL is a real shoestring marketing budget. And there's a report about the Four Nations ticket sales being really bad. So they use their owned and operated channels like NHL.com, NHL Network to run the ads for the ticket sales for those games. So I'm pretty certain, because nobody watches that fucking network really, except for a few sickos like Chris, all day. So I think they're really using those channels to try and pump up ticket sales for the Four Nations.
See, I use that.
Well-
I use a bootleg link. Chris, are you using the links?
That's what I use. Yeah.
you get many options. The biggest problem, like Saturday, I had people over the house, and you got to be careful what pops up on the screen while you're hitting the links, because next thing you know, you're
there's
gonna
like a cartoon anime chick with a dick in her mouth, and I'm like, what the fuck is this?
it's like lady boys all over your screen. It's like, what the hell's going on? Yeah, but yeah, it's
You guys got to clear your cookies. What are you guys?
we'll send you that
for?
link.
I mean, I agree with you. The calls. I think that I love PK, but I do not like him as a color guy. I thought he was really bad on the game he did the other night for us. I just, I don't know. I don't like. I guess I'm just so used to our guys. Anybody else just is different and off, and I don't like it. Like I was watching the Ranger Columbus game the other night, and I had on I know that Sam Rosen is his, historical figure in hockey, but I cannot stand listening to him. It just his voice and the call, and he's like 100 years old. He completely lost his step. He mispronounces guys' names. It's like, oh, Zibanejad. Oh no, wait, that was Panarin. Like, yeah, let's get our shit together there, Sam. But I like Bill. I like Bill.
It's a power play goal.
God,
I like PK the way he pumps the Devils' tires. It's nice to have a national guy pump the Devils' tires, but it is so fucking overboard, especially when they're playing like shit.
Yeah,
it's just like, come on, man, like they're playing badly. Like, have a critical eye on this a little bit.
He was pumping Luke Hughes up like he was fucking Cale Makar back there. Like, all right, not yet. I get it, but maybe down the road. But let's, like you said, pump the brakes a little bit. Let's talk about how bad this fucking team actually has been over the course of the 2025. This year has sucked for this team. And there's definitely something broken. And I'm real curious to get everybody's opinion on what they saw this weekend and what the heck is going on and how the hell do we fix it. We'll start with Bob. Go for it.
It's very unfortunate because I'm literally a podcast host with nothing to say here. I don't know what to say. Like it's not, I don't know what to say because I don't know what's broken. It's just that I don't feel that I need to say anything because everything's broken. Like I just read Tim's, article that he just put out about the weekend. Like, yeah, you're right. You ripped him a new one. It's like every facet of the game that's just not working right now. It could be anything from heart to crispness of plays. The defense is finally coming back around, right? But the guys don't score. Our depth scoring isn't there. We're supposed to be a strength of the team, but they just feel off. I mean, yesterday they had the 17 shots on goal in the first period. All right, and then midway through the second, at exactly a 30-minute mark, midway through the game, they were sitting at like 25. And then we all know they got like practically none in the third. And I don't get that. And I know they were bottled up, and I know Ottawa just turned that game around, and we couldn't penetrate them. But I'm kind of tired of hearing that. Like, you really couldn't muster up anything more than that. And like when you're in the middle of this swoon. So I need someone with more of a critical thought like Baghead over here to really break it down more, because right now it's frustrating, and I don't see them trying enough.
All right, Baghead.
I've written about it for probably the past like 4 or 5 blogs. I've thrown something in there about scoring. Like we're not scoring. So in this bad stretch, we've had 11 or 9 of the 11 games have been 1-goal games since that Carolina loss, and they're giving up 3 or less goals. So that's not really defense, and it's not really goaltending. It's been kind of the combo of the two. We've seen the defense not be as strong as it was early on. I think it's coming back around. They did a really good job the past 2 games, I thought, but Markstrom was bailing us out before that. So we don't really have that as a complaint, but it's just really, it's scoring. We have no fucking scoring, and I don't understand what's going on. I don't understand why our shooters are just hitting the goalie right in the fucking chest, or they're shooting wide, or they're getting their shots blocked. Like the Flyers had 33 block shots. Like that's a lot. So like, we need more from Timo. The guy makes $8.8 million. I've been defending him. He's getting the same kind of rates. He's getting his shots on goal. He's driving play. I think he actually looks good from a playing standpoint, like relative to last year when he had a mid-body injury. Like he's playing well. He's just not scoring, and he needs to score. Bratt hasn't scored in like 20 fucking games, or he has like 2 goals in 20 games when he's not offsides. Jack has a 3-point night and then is responsible for fucking like 1 billion turnovers the next 2. It's like we need more consistency from him. The third line is a void. Mercer is the softest, weakest fucking pussy on this team. Dowling ain't it. Cotter, I like Cotter. I think he actually plays hard and has actually been pretty good for us. But man, that fucking guy has rocks for brains. He makes some of the most questionable, dumb, basic hockey decisions that just make no sense to me. So it's just up and down the board. And you know what? Our fourth line was the best line for the past 2 games. And that can't fucking happen.
No.
So that's my summary.
Tone.
You know, I was thinking about this today, and I had to put these down before I even. So this is give you an idea, right? Christmas, right? So holiday season comes in. Everyone's feeling pretty damn good. We're excited. Everyone's excited, right? So since Christmas, 4-2, we lose to the Canes. We beat the Canes, right? That's 27th.
Yep.
We lose 5-2 to the Canes. Then we lose to Anaheim. What? The Kings. Kings shut us out. San Jose. I mean, we beat Seattle. You know, I mean. And you're watching this team. I said something about 2 weeks ago on the show, or maybe last week, actually. I don't even know. Maybe about the team being tough. And I think you guys were like, I think the team did this to get tough, which they did do a lot of moves to get tough. But man, to be a team in contention, you got to be Florida Panther nasty like last year. And I don't see that in this team. And I know there's some moments of it. I know, you know, with Nico the other day when he gets hit and stuff like that. But I just think, first of all, I think we need a player that is that, you know, you brought up Meyer, Baghead. You bring up Meyer, right? I look at him and I like Meyer, but everyone's like, oh, he reminds me of Claude Lemieux. He does, but he doesn't. You know, there's some things he does not do, and we need a guy who does those kind of things. We need the Tom Wilson. We need the Claude Lemieux. I believe on this team we need it. We need the Keith Tkachuk. We may all think, oh, I can't believe he hit Nico the other day, but that's what your player should do in those kind of games when you just lost 2 games to that team. It was a clean
He's
hit.
too old to be hitting anybody.
You know,
that's messed up.
You know, but I think not Keith. Yeah, you're right. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I believe there's balls missing on this team, and I thought so all week when I watched the games. I mean, like I said, we getting some scrums, but I mean, what? So now we're 9 points behind the Caps, right? 2 points ahead of the Hurricanes. I mean, 7 points ahead of the Blue Jackets, right? And Rangers are only 10 points behind us, which I mean. It's
Tony. That's a great point because that was one of the things I wanted to bring up. We're 6 points ahead of the first wild card spot, 7 points ahead of the second, and we got 3 games. They got 3 games on hand on us, both of those teams.
Yeah,
like
I mean, our schedule. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of problems when I'm watching that. I mean, and without Markstrom, forget about it. Those numbers would be even worse than what we're saying right now. You know, he saved us a few games this year. Sure. But, you know, we mentioned the boredom thing. The last couple of games I watched, I remember when I went to the Lightning game in Tampa, I was pissed because I had seen the worst game of the year I thought the Devils had played. Well, now I've seen a few more that were worse than that, even possibly. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I mean, there has to be some moves. You know, I think there's got to be, you know, we all know, I don't know if you guys mentioned on the last show, but with Nemitz and stuff like that, like maybe some of these guys should be bought up. There's got to be some shit that has to be changed a little bit. And if it's, you know, we think we got plenty of time left. You look at the next couple of games, you got the Bruins, Montreal, Flyers twice. Those Flyer games aren't going to be easy. No. You don't think Torts is going to have that team ready? You know, Sabres, I mean, we have trouble with those kind of teams, the teams we should beat, you know? So, I mean, then you got the Pens. The Pens aren't easy. So the Devils really got to get it together. And I think I think we need to make a move. Why wait till the deadline? Like, let's do it now before the price goes up. You got to give up something to get something. I'll be bummed if we get rid of Mercer. I mean, I bought the damn jersey. I hate doing that. But he may be the guy you have to move now because, you know, he may be the guy that still has the most value because you're not going to get rid of a Hughes right now. You're not going to get rid of those guys. So something has to be done. I think it's time because we're starting to see shades of last year starting to creep in.
100%. And before this weekend, I think my concernometer was around 6. And then after this weekend, it's now at a solid 10. Because here's the other thing. The entire Eastern Conference is in this playoff race right now. I mean, essentially every freaking team believes they have a shot if they can just go on a run. So every game you're going to play in the Eastern Conference against bottom feeders, like you said, Montreal, Buffalo, they're looking at this as playoff games. So these games are going to be ratcheted up even more. And if this team doesn't show up, and they haven't been, I mean, I don't know what the identity of this team is anymore. Like, are we a fast transition team? Are we like we were maybe in December where we were playing really good defense? We were really good on our breakouts and we were scoring a lot of goals. Are we this, dump and chase, physical, forechecking team like we were early in the season where we were kind of doing that a little bit more. Now we can't do anything. My biggest complaint right now is I had said all last year how much I hated the fact that Lindy Ruff would never let a line marinate. If you didn't do it in your first 30 seconds, he was throwing it in the blender and fucking everything up. And it really did hinder the consistency and these guys being able to work with each other and all that other shit. Sheldon Keefe is the complete opposite. Change up the lines. This is not working right now. And I don't know why. I would definitely split up Brat and Jack. This is not working with I love when these two are going and how pretty they look, but you know what? If it's not resulting in goals, and it's not, then split them up. Have two speedsters on the first and second line and mix it up. Put Jack. You want to get Timo going? Put him on with Jack Hughes. I saw for a little while in that Flyer game, and I don't know if it was just because it was a delayed line change or it was after a penalty or, and the lines kind of get a little wonky before they settle back in. But it was Jack centering Meyer and Nason. Why not? Let's try that. Two big bodies, two bigger physical guys. Meyer's got some hands. Nason's great in front of the net. Jack can just, he's an artist out there in open ice. Let's see what they can do. But I agree with every single thing that all you guys said. And I am 100%. If I'm Tom Fitzgerald right now, I am waving number 91 to every single team going, you guys want Dawson Mercer? Because he's going to be going. We're ready to trade him. And
because he's our personality, Chris.
Bring Nemec up.
Yeah,
put him in a couple of games.
Nemec is bitching. I know it pisses people off, but you got to realize, first of all, Utica is dead last. They're like 11 and 19. I mean, they're at the bottom. So he's probably just sitting there. And he has decent numbers. I was looking at his numbers. I mean, he's 5 goals, 13 assists over there in 25 games. He wants to come back up. But Chris, don't you think, look at the Devils. Nico's definitely, I love Nico as the captain and stuff. But don't you think this team would benefit so much by a personality like some of the guys I mentioned, like someone that just flies off that roster? And you said, this guy's going to be a pain in the ass that whole game. This guy, not only do we have to worry about the New Jersey Devils, but we got to worry about this antagonizer guy who has talent, You got it.
And Tony, that's a great point. Like there's a term that people have used to describe, Florida and Tampa and in Vegas and some of the past cup winners. It's hard skill. Like a guy like Makachuk who plays on the edge. You don't know what kind of fucking chaos monster he's going to be, but he's also putting up a shitload of points. They're all kind of unicorns a little bit. There are very few of them kind of left in this game, but you need that type of guy. Like Tampa, Kucherov. Kucherov's nasty, but he's a fucking asshole. Like he's a dirty fuck on the ice. We don't have any dirty fucking players. Like I don't care. Get me a dirty fuck. I
love him.
I agree.
I'm all. Yeah. Someone that's a problem, a gnat, someone that you just can't stand. We don't have that guy.
Timo Meyer was that in the playoffs, like for the Rangers, and when we played them 2 years ago, he was that. But I mean, is he a guy that only brings it in the playoffs? I mean, we don't know. We've only seen him play 12 playoff games, so as a Devil. So I don't know. And I didn't follow him too much in San Jose, but is he going to be that guy? But I agree. We have to do something here. Like the lines have to change up. And even like you said, the defense, they were better this weekend with not getting at least against Ottawa, not getting caved in and spending 10 minutes in the defensive zone. At least they were able to kind of get out of that against the Senators. But the Flyers did it. Every team does it. And that's what you said about last year, right? Like this is shades of last year, when we just get pinned back there and, it's only a matter of time until they're going to score on us. And so I would sit a guy or two. I would make some statements here that this team needs to be better because there is a legit chance now. If they keep going like this, they're going to be out of the playoffs. There is now an actual legit chance with the way every other team is playing. Highly unlikely. I understand that. Right. But 3 weeks ago, this team was sitting pretty, and in 3 fucking weeks, they've managed to basically squander their entire cushion. And, I don't want that to come back and bite them in the ass. So they have to make some changes.
I usually use like a 600 winning percentage as kind of like a sort of bellwether line. That's about 98 points as as a demarcation, like you're going to make the playoffs and you actually have a decent chance. They just fell below that with this game.
Yep.
And I realize, we have some games in hand and other teams are closer to us. We did find out last year that those points are often hard to make up. They have to win and we have to lose. So they are difficult to make up. And I think, what do we have? We have 58 points right now. So, and how many games do we have left? We have 33 games.
Yep.
We could probably go 500 and still squeeze in as like the last wild card. I don't want that to happen. I want this team to finish second or third. I still think we're on a collision course with Carolina in the playoffs. I think they're going to get out of this, but something needs to change. I don't know if a trade's coming because there are so many teams in the Eastern Conference that are in it. And suddenly Montreal may be a buyer, Detroit may be a buyer, Ottawa may be a buyer, the Rangers may be a buyer again, for fuck's sake. Like I just, and every single team needs the same goddamn thing we do, which is a third line center.
I do think you're going to see a lot of those teams, though, especially come closer to the trade deadline the next month or so. A lot of those GMs are going to have to really decide, like, are we going to put our chips all in, and the off chance that we might, we're playing great right now, but there's still a chance we don't make the playoffs. So GMs are going to have to really decide whether or not they are sellers and buyers. But your point is absolutely correct. Like, every team right now thinks they have a shot, and that's dangerous.
So it's better to trade now than wait, right? I mean, why wait till it's like?
Oh, I agree. But the team selling, if let's say, you want Jake Evans from Montreal, right? Is Montreal ready to pull the trigger yet? They might be sitting here going, in a month we can get more for Jake Evans than we can right now. So I think the problem isn't Tom Fitzgerald pulling the trigger. It's whoever he's dancing with, pulling the trigger. I think that's it.
I agree with that.
What do you think of Miller? That's what I keep on. JT Miller.
Well, let's talk about him in 1 sec. But Bobby had something he wanted to say. So
I think that this situation is different for us because I don't think we're talking about adding that next piece or two to solidify our championship aspirations. At this point, I think we need, again, my favorite thing, an actual hockey trade just to make this team viable again. Like, this isn't about, okay, let's get that last sniper and now we're going for a deep run. I don't know that this team's capable of doing it without like a significant change. It may be the time where this has got to be a big name for a big name, or at least a big perspective. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, Mercer has always been very protected. They were mentioning on the broadcast that he's the first person that GMs call and ask about. I would do just about anything to change the culture and make sure this team can move. We've talked about a guy like Timo Meier before. Like, I've said it a million times. I love Timo. I love his skill set. I think he should be phenomenal for this team. For whatever reason, we're not really seeing it. And I've seen all the underlying stats, and I've seen that his game is basically the same or even better than his best years if you were to put him back on PP1, because that's where a lot of his other production came back. Like, I get all that kind of crap. That's fine underneath. Surface level, dude ain't scoring. Like, $9 million player, dude ain't scoring. People like Bratt, like right now, we know he's streaky. We talk about it all the time. This streak's getting insane. Like, come on. Like, we need something. So I don't think it's going to be either of those moves. Like, Meier's not going anywhere. None of the Hughes are going anywhere. Heischer's not going anywhere. I mean, we got to legit bring in like a 3C that I believe we can do kind of on a more trade level, but I see another name or two or a package going out for something bigger. It has to be. None of this is working.
I would love to see that, to be honest with you. I love aggressive management. I love pulling the trigger on something that pisses off half the fan base and gets the other fan base excited, the other half excited. I would totally be fine with any of that. Like, if it's bringing back something that's going to help this team better, and it's it's Brad, it's Meier, it's one of those guys, do it. I say do it. There's only a couple of guys on this team that in my opinion, are off limits, but not many. Tim, what about you? What do you think? What's the move that needs to get done? And real quick, like what Bobby said, like a big hockey move. Like, do you agree with that? And is there anybody that you can think that maybe we might be able to?
I mean, yeah, like in the near term, there are two guys that I think we could probably add right now that probably won't cost a lot of assets. One of them would need to, so it'd be, and I hate to say this, but because I don't like the retreads, but Taylor Hall and Ryan O'Reilly, those two guys. So we put Taylor Hall with Jack Bratt, Ryan O'Reilly in that 3C. Taylor Hall, again, I hate the retreads. I think we're rolling the dice a little bit. But if we have an immediate needs, the Blackhawks are fucking out of it. He's an impending free agent. It doesn't hurt all that much to bring him in and put him on that line. You find a third party to retain or Blackhawks retain, you're looking at one of the 3 second-round picks that we have, I think, max. Ryan O'Reilly, he's in Nashville right now, who, probably the biggest disappointment of the year. But from what they've said, they're kind of treating him very respectfully and are going to give him the opportunity to go to a team that he would be willing to and want to go to, kind of almost like a courtesy no movement clause. I don't know if the Devils would be on that list. And I think he would be a guy that would solidify our third line. I think he's a pending UFA as well, so it wouldn't hurt that bad. Getting into JT Miller, I think from the type of attitude and player he is, that's exactly what Tony was talking about, that hard skill. He's a big, physical, mean, passionate player. However, a decent chunk of his production comes from Power Play 1, and he's the primary facilitator besides Quinn Hughes on the Vancouver first power play. So how does that work logistically? Bring him in? Do we bump Bratt down to the second power play and put him on that right flank? Because I'd said incorrectly that he was a righty last show. He's actually a lefty. The other issue is while he's played 3 full seasons, the past couple seasons, he does get banged up. And a guy his size, he's 32. He's on the books until he's on the books, I think, for 3 more years.
He's got a big deal, yeah.
He's on the books for 3 more years. And that puts him, or 4 more years, sorry. That puts him to his 36, 37-year age. Like at $8 million carrying a guy till he's 37, that there's just no chance that ages well. And what are we going to do? Flip him again? So I don't know. I think I'm out on JT Miller because of those things. He also has some inconsistencies in his defensive game, and the Canucks are getting the doors blown off in the last couple of games. And I've seen multiple clips of him. I haven't watched an actual game, so kind of take it out of context, but I've seen multiple clips of him just quit on a play. And so I think, yes, attitude, play style, that's what we need. But I'm not totally sold on him. And I don't think if I'm not totally sold on someone, that leans me to no.
All right. Do a quick ad read here, and then I want to ask you guys about a couple of other guys. Playoffs. We're talking about playoffs. You bet we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning in the playoffs, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Just download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in New York. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in Connecticut. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino Resort. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, visit dkng.co/audio. That's DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN. The crown is yours. Bobby, what do you think about JT Miller?
I don't get the feel for him. I think that Tim just put it pretty well too. I don't know that. I guess it would help for that kind of production. Okay. But I don't know that we need to get it from him. I think if we're talking about bringing that in for a run kind of thing, then I'm kind of with Tim on like a Taylor Hall type guy. If we're just looking to kind of add a sniper here and there, again, my thing is more about like just the right piece for this team. And some people say, "Oh, forget about all that locker room distraction stuff." Half the people say that means nothing. Half will say, "Sure, it does. It's all about the culture." I don't know where it really blends. I don't care, but I just know that he doesn't sit too well with me. So I would probably go another route. I think some of the questions have to come from within. Some of them have to come just by remanaging this team. And then, again, possibly just bringing in kind of an unknown factor here, just kind of changing it up.
Yeah, and just a cat like if JT Miller was traded to our team, I would defend the fucking wall for that guy. Like he seems like the right type of guy, and I would go to bat for him. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just kind of a pussy in terms of pulling the trigger on shit.
What about you, Tone, with JT Miller?
I think JT Miller is a great player. I think I know I agree with what Tim was saying that with the age getting locked in that long, it's a problem. But for this year, he's maybe if it's not even him, but he is exactly what we need. I've watched him play for years. The guy is an impact player, does get banged up sometimes, but I think there's the difference between him and, like, we talk about Hall personalities. Hall is not what we need personality for this team. TJ Miller is more of like that guy's he'll straighten out some of the shit. He'll be a voice in the locker. I don't know who the voice is in the locker room, really. I'm not sure who that guy is. Like, I don't even know if you guys could think about it. Like, who could you picture being a voice in that locker room? I don't know who seems so Scott Stevensy or Bill Garany or these guys who had this impact. I don't know on our team who that guy is when I look at them. Back then you would actually see it, on the ice. So I think JT Miller or a player like him would be very, very a great addition for this team this season. But what do you give up for him for, and
well, then maybe that is kind of the bigger hockey move that I'm talking about. Maybe it's addition by subtraction too, because he's getting a roster player for that, right?
You're getting Mercer,
right?
Yeah.
So,
Mercer.
I don't think, because JT Miller I consider kind of a distressed asset right now. Like, with all the shit that we're hearing about Vancouver, I don't know how much of that is actually true or not. I don't know if it's media speculation, because Canadian media can be kind of like fucking jackals.
Mm-hmm.
They get their teeth into a story and then they try and just beat the shit out of it. Again, like, I think he'd be a great addition, but the one thing I think we lack, and I kind of wrote this up a little bit, is pure shooting talent. And JT Miller's, he's scoring goals in the 30s, but he's more playmaker again. And we have, that the same 30 goal, 60 assist guys in Jack and Brad and even Nico to an extent. I want a guy that's fucking trying to get the Cy Young, who scores 50 goals and has 2 assists. Just some fucking big fat meathead who sits in front of the net. Give me Cam Neely, give me Tim Kerr, just some asshole who just gets in the goalie's face, doesn't fuck around. I don't know. It's a hard choice. I don't envy Tom Fitzgerald right now, because if he pulls a trigger on something like that, that is a massive hockey trade. And it may work out great for 1 year, but down the road, it may totally backfire. But like, people were suggesting Simon Nemec for him. I don't think he warrants Simon Nemec in a trade.
I think a big problem is Hart, right? I mean, don't you guys? I think that's like, we talked about this last season, and we didn't need to talk about it this season until now, probably. But I think there's just I don't know. Am I the only one that feels like when you're watching this team, there's just like a certain, I heard someone else say this too. I don't know where it was, that they don't want to play the style that you need to play to be in these aggressive hockey games,
Well, I mean, look, when you want to be a good playoff team and you're going to make a run every year and have a deep run every year, you have to be the type of team that can play any kind of style, no matter what. If you go up against the Flyers and they're big and heavy and blocking shots and getting, annoying the shit out, you got to be able to get past that and still win that game and play that style better than the Flyers. You want to be a fast transition game up and down the ice, like a Toronto or whatever. You got to be able to match speed for speed and, do the things that you need to do to win these games. The Devils, and this was like last year's problem too, and even a little bit the year before, they are uncomfortable. They're not comfortable in uncomfortable situations. And real
relatively new, though. I mean, I think that's what we were doing in the beginning half of this year. We were finding ways to win. We were playing different ways to beat different teams. We still had a problem kind of losing to the lesser team that we all say on paper we should beat. That's just kind of whatever our freaking problem is with that. But I thought that we did do a good job leading right up to the break. I thought that was one of the strengths of this team. We could beat you several different ways. You want to run and gun, we'll do that. You want to play it tight, we'll do that. That's why for me,
Yeah,
like the whole
like we
thing
saw it.
just got blended up.
Sorry.
It's cool, bro.
We saw it early in the season when they went down to Florida and we are dreading that trip.
Yeah,
And, you know,
that's true.
they matched the Panthers. It's there's no consistency in that. And that's a hard game to play game to game in the regular season, especially when it's 5 degrees out in January and you know your kid didn't get the present he wanted for Christmas and you're going to fucking LA for New Year's and you know it's a hard game to play game in and game out. And Florida has learned that lesson over their past couple of years in the playoffs of playing that way. And you know maybe they need that hard lesson. They got the shit kicked out of them by Carolina, and they didn't get tougher until the year later, until now. And I think they brought in some of those guys like Cotter. I think is a great little menace. Nason's a great kind of gritty, hard nosed guy, but I think you need to actively learn those lessons in playing games and getting the shit kicked out of you and saying that's how we need to play to be able to win. And maybe that'll come in the playoffs, but I think we've seen them be able to elevate themselves to that level of gameplay.
I agree with that, but you go back to Florida. In Florida, the one thing that Barry Zito had the balls to do was make what Bobby calls the hockey trade. Right? It was Huberdeau. It was getting Tkachuk down to Florida. Completely changed. To Tony's point, brought the element that they were missing, which is what I think we all agree is a part missing on this team. Is there at all? Is that just an impossibility to get a guy that can do that to bring? Because he changed the entire culture of that team. As my microphone falls on my lap, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right.
Watching
he changed everything
again.
About that team. Everything. Every player on that team looked at Matthew Tkachuk and said, "We got to play like him," and the whole team did. And he is. I know that he doesn't wear the C, but he is the heart and soul and leader on the ice on that team.
And we say remember when we did preview those Florida games, we're like, okay, we're worried about this team coming in and banging us up. Do you guys really think that anybody looks at the Devils coming in and says, "Oh man, I'm worried about them banging us up"? I don't see that. Like when I see teams like Florida, I think this automatically. I don't know what it is about that team. There's a couple different teams in the league actually that when they come to town, this is the thing on my mind, and I think it makes a big difference in the psyche.
It's an important part. I see what you're saying, dude. Like the Devils did get tougher. They did get bigger and a little stronger in that way. But no, they're probably not a team I think of, and that's a concern if I'm playing them. Like everybody knows they got a little grittier and a little heavier, but yeah, they don't think about them like you do a Panthers team for sure.
Were you surprised when Tkachuk laid out Hischier? I wasn't surprised. I thought it sucked as a Devils fan, but I wasn't surprised because you knew this was coming. You knew.
But I love the response. I love the response.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And they have a 2-year-old vendetta against Nico for some phantom face-off thing that happened to Barkov.
That's right. Yeah.
It wasn't really a phantom. He did friggin' take him out for a few games. It was an accident. He slipped.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, yeah. There's so I think Tony brings up a good point. And it's sort of a philosophical divide of how you want your team to play, and you look at leadership, and Nico has a sort of quiet elegance about his game. He could be pretty tough in the corners, and you saw him yapping at Farabee against the Flyers from the bench, and Nason got up immediately and started yapping at him too. It was like, "Don't you fucking go near my captain." Siegenthaler did the same thing when the that great picture that you guys put out on social that picked up of like choking out Tkachuk. The response is there, and it's there. But it may not be as loud or as vocal. Like Siegenthaler's like kind of like turned into a bit of a scary little assassin. Like he's a big fucking dude too. We saw Dougie lay someone out. I know that's not going to happen all that often. But Kovacevic can be a little bit mean. Connor's kind of a prick. Nason can be a prick too. I don't know. It's interesting. But Nico isn't a vocal in your face type of captain, and I know they're fans that pine for Brady Tkachuk as like a type of captain to be kind of a loud, in your face, fuck you kind of captain, and it's a philosophical divide of whether how you want your team to play, and I do think we do still miss that element. Like they go quiet for stretches, like watching there's no life or energy in either of these games this weekend. That even fucking bring in McDermott just to kick the shit out of someone, and that'll get the boys going. Like both games were the most afternoon fucking games of all time. Like lying on the couch, like, you know, playing with my dick and watching hockey.
You're
Did
disgusting.
I say that out? Did I say that out loud?
I,
Did I let the? Did
We'd,
I let
we'd
the
appreciate it if you turn off the camera when you do it there,
Did I let the intrusive thought out again?
I do think that, if a trade is, it's definitely going to make some moves. We know that, but that's not going to happen before Wednesday night when we go and face the Bruins, which I think if the Devils just get their shit back together, they have the opportunity to absolutely smoke Boston. Boston is not a good team, and they should. But what's going to happen is they're going to come out flying. They're going to get 20 shots in the first period. Swayman's going to stop them all. Boston's going to get one, and then we're going to put our head down and cry, and then maybe tie it, and then they'll score late in the third and pull the goalie, and they'll get the empty netter, and we'll lose. That's what, Tone? Go ahead.
So, and there's another problem that night. What is Wednesday night?
I know.
Jacques Lemaire, Ring of Honor. And how do we come out of these games every time?
Well, if you remember,
please don't embarrass us in front of Jacques.
The first one we did, right, was McMullen. And am I wrong that was a Flyer game? And we, like 2 years ago in the 112 point season, and we scored like 6. I think we won like 6-1. We were scoring at will. And then the Sergei Brylin one, we got absolutely demolished in our barn. So I'm hoping maybe they can bring Jacques Lemaire in to kind of like give these guys a little pep talk before, maybe even hire him as an assistant or something. But, you're right. It is a big game, and everyone's going to want to show up, and Boston's going to be like, let's just spoil the Jacques Lemaire, celebration. But they should beat them. But you got to change these lines up. Like if we go into Wednesday night's game with the same freaking guys in the same spots, I'm going to be frustrated because the PB&J, and that shit got stale. That sandwich is stale and needs to be thrown away for a little while.
Yeah, I wonder what the logic is. And again, we know he doesn't like to move them that much, give the boys benefit of the doubt, right? But like, are you protecting the fact that Jack is still putting up decent, production by keeping him with Bratt? Or why wouldn't you say, Jesus, I really got to get Bratt going? Like, so, what's the thought process behind not giving it a try? It's just kind of mind boggling. It's got to do something.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a prevailing thought that Jack and Timo don't work together.
They're
both neutral zone monsters and kind of volume shooters.
Before you finish that thought, though, let me ask you. I agree with you. For some reason, it doesn't work, or at least we're under the impression it doesn't work. But am I wrong to suggest or to think that Timo Meier was brought here to play with Jack? Like that was the prevailing thought when Fitz pulled the trigger on this thing. Put him with Jack Hughes, give Jack a big winger that can, open up some space for him, get in front of the net. It's got a hell of a shot. Jack can set him up. Like that to me was the prevailing thought, and it never worked. Am I wrong to think that?
I think you're correct. And I think it's worth another shot. Like Timo wasn't healthy basically all last year, right? Like he was, he had a penis injury and like 2 torn MCLs or something like that. And Jack wasn't healthy really kind of at all last year. And really at the beginning of this season when they tried Timo, Jack, and Bratt, Jack wasn't really at his A game. I think he's still kind of coming back from surgery a little bit and was learning the defensive side of the game and really overemphasizing that defensive side of the game. So that's why that line didn't necessarily work. But Chris, you and I were texting about it. It's like the last 2 games against the Flyers game during a shift change, they had a great opportunity, Jack, Timo, Nason. And then they had a similar thing happen in Ottawa where they had a great opportunity. They didn't get a very good shot off, but like give it a shot. Switch Timo and Jack. It's a small switch. You're not putting the lines in a full fucking blown blender. Like just switch those 2. Bratt has great history with Nico. Bratt and Palat are pretty good together, and Nico has good history with Palat. Nason and Jack are great together on the power play. Like so, like I don't understand why I'm concerned about Keefe in the sense that like he's not changing anything. Like I know, we all have like collective trauma from Ruff and his fucking Osterheiser, but try something, do something different.
And maybe blend jet, but
good.
Is it
green.
or
Osterizer,
Osterizer.
yeah,
Is
the
it
big
just
green 50s thing with like 2 speeds on it.
Yeah.
Put your hand in there, and your wife's opening your ketchup bottles for the rest of your life.
So Tim, what's more difficult to change short term without a ton of practice? Like one guy on a line, like moving Timo, or say putting Timo back on power play one for a little while, since that's also been kind of struggling. It hasn't really been doing anything. Like, is it that big of a deal to try to like reinsert his type of game back to power play one in place of like Brad or something? I mean, why aren't they trying that? Why aren't we getting more Dougie time?
He and Brad play the same spot on the power play.
Right.
They're that right flank one-timer spot. And for whatever reason, like that seam pass that Jack used to do to Brad on the power play, that was just like so money all the time. Brad somehow has lost that one-timer. Like I don't know where it's gone. I don't know if it's in his head, if he hasn't really been working on it a lot.
He has to be in the zone before the puck for that to work.
Yeah. Don't go offsides, Jasper. That's kind of rule number 1. Bobby's kid's probably learning that right now.
Yep.
They have to change. Keefe has to change something up for the Boston game. You cannot. You just can't. And And I would during the whole Ottawa game. Excuse me. I'm just sitting there. Just change something. Change something. Like give these guys a bit of a spark. And I know he did. Right. He was moving double shifting Nico, I think, for the bottom for the third line to kind of get that going a little bit, which is like you said before, Tim, is a mess all on its own. But let me ask you guys. Tim and I talked about this a little bit on the last show that him and I did. And we were talking a little bit about like how this time next year, if you keep Nemec around, at some point you're going to have to make room for Shimon Nemec to get into this lineup. A year from now, do you then pull a trigger on trading Dougie Hamilton and bringing Shimon Nemec up to take his spot and get rid of that big contract or whatever? Now, my question to you guys is this. If somebody for the right guy wanted Dougie now, would you move him? Tone.
Wow, I like that.
I would, yeah. I would move him. I was going to ask you guys about him tonight anyways, what you guys thought about his play, because I just,
Oh, I will tell you.
He loves Dougie. Well,
come on, Sack, tell us.
Hold on, but really hard to answer that, Chris, because you don't know what the return is literally going to be, right? And for my money, and again, I'm more of a fan than like a detail-oriented, how they're playing the game, X's and O's type of guy. That's just the truth, right? I didn't play hockey growing up. Right. But I mean, it even seems to me on the surface, despite, and I did read Baghead's, thing. It's again very intelligent, but like it doesn't feel like Hamilton's being used like he should, as he has in previous years. Is that Sheldon Keefe's preference on how often he uses him, whatever? That's just what I'm seeing from the surface. I'm not seeing as much Dougie in some of these key situations as we've seen before. So assuming you're talking about a hockey trade that brings in a really valuable piece, I do kind of feel like we could insert Nemec and not miss all that much. And that's not to say I don't love Dougie's skill set. And when he was throwing up those goals, I mean, he was money in overtime, right? Gets to overtime, Dougie's probably going to get the game winner. It's not that we wouldn't miss that. I just think that in a year, like you said, we could probably slide off if we're bringing in a guy like Nemec.
What about you, Tim?
I would do Dougie for JT Miller.
I bet you would.
No, trade Dougie for JT Miller, because honestly, what that does is I think Dougie is great, and I think kind of gets killed by our fan base who for very micro specific instances, and the 97% of his game is actually elite from the defensive end. It's just when he makes a mistake, it's fucking huge, or he looks like he's not really trying. Like I get that. I do. But if you look at like some of his just underlying metrics, and even like his basic metrics, his shooting, his shots on goals, the amount of rebounds he creates, his goals, his assists, and some of the more fancy stats, like his expected goals, his Corsi, his Fenwick, he's first on our team by a fucking mile over every other defenseman on the team. Even defensively, he's not nearly as bad as people give him for. Particularly when you look at some of his numbers, like hits, he's only 10 behind Kovacevic, and that's Dylan, Siegenthaler, and then Kovacevic, and then Dougie. So he's ahead of Luke and ahead of Pesci. Block shots, he's third, tied with Dylan, which is I was actually kind of surprised by. the shot attempts against him, he's actually only second behind Luke. Luke, I still think, is our best defenseman. The high danger shots against, he's third. He's ahead of Kovacevic and Pesci. So he's giving up less high danger shots than those two guys. His expected goals against for 60. So that's kind of like generally his overall play and the amount of chances that he's giving up. He's very close to Kovacevic and he's ahead of Pesci. And his overall goal differential, not his plus minus when he's on the ice, his overall goal differential, he's plus 29. And I get he doesn't play on the penalty kill, and we know why, because he's not great defensively. But that's sixth in the NHL, like his actual goal differential. So he's still very much a net positive. However, I do think his contract is going to be an albatross come in the coming years. And if Miller's contract is the problem in my mind coming in, you swap out problematic potential contracts and you fill a void that we need up front, and you take away an issue. And honestly, people can stop fucking complaining about Dougie. The other thing about Dougie, he's not as slow as you think he is. He's actually in the 75th percentile in speed in the NHL. He just looks slow because his stride's a little weird because he's very tall and upright. But that would be the trade I would make, because it solves all those problems. Right. Then we can bring Nemec
Hamilton.
Then we can bring Nemec.
His ass to Vancouver. I like it.
Ride Hamilton. Go learn.
I mean, that is the definition of a hockey trade, right? That's big money for big money. It's changing
exactly,
culture.
It's exactly that. And Dougie, big, soft, quiet Dougie. He's not the voice that Tony was talking about. And he's never worn an A. He's never worn a C. He's just kind of a veteran who likes to go to museums and shoot the puck.
Yeah, I would definitely do it. I would do it. And if there's somebody else out there that's not JT Miller but does fit that spot that we need, and I would pull the trigger on anybody. I wouldn't have an issue with that whatsoever. So what about, before we wrap up tonight, the other guy in Vancouver that is attached to the hip as far as the speculation, and that's Elias Pettersson. Now, Elias Pettersson could possibly be going too, or one or the other if they do trade one of them. Now, Elias Pettersson's got, I think, 4 years left at like 11 and change. I think he has a huge contract. Does anyone have an appetite for EP40 on this team? Everybody is shaking. For the audio audience, every single person is shaking their head left to right. So, okay, I agree. So that's done. All right.
Contract's too big. He's another soft Swede. We don't need another guy like him. The guy that may be interesting from Vancouver that is kind of lost in the shuffle of all this a little bit, but still is Brock Besser.
Yeah.
He's an upcoming UFA. He probably wants to stay there. That guy is so good looking. Holy shit. Like, he would give Nico a run for money for handsomeness per 60. No, just kidding. But he's that sniper we need.
Couple that with how you play with yourself during games. I'm really getting bad visuals here. So, I mean, I did hear talk about Brock Besser possibly being on the move as well. Now, let me just take a look at Brock Besser's numbers here this year. So Brock Besser this year has 15 goals, 13 assists, career-wise, 194 goals and 218 assists. He's having a decent year. Again, you put him. Where do you put him, with Jack again? On the right wing?
Yeah, I put him on the wing with Jack and Pratt.
And that return would probably be, you'd have to give up a lot less, I'm sure.
Yeah, because he's an impending UFA. For some reason, I'm looking him up on Puckpedia to see what his actual contract is, and Brock Bukaboom came up. I don't know.
Who the hell is Brock Bukaboom?
I remember Bukaboom.
Brock Bukaboom.
Yeah, but it wasn't Brock.
I'm guessing. I'm guessing it might be related. That's not exactly like the last name Wood or Baghead.
Sack.
So, I mean, all right. So Vancouver is definitely going to be a seller, and I think the Devils have some pieces that could be moved. So I would definitely be down with Brock Besser, and I would definitely be down with JT Miller. But I don't think that I would be.
Brock Besser's that right shot, and he has like the stat line that I like. He had 40 goals and 33 assists. He's like, "Fuck your assist, motherfucker! I'm not passing you the puck. I'm going to shoot."
Right. That's what
He's
we
a right
want.
shot, which like I have a hard on for a right shot to get Jack. So anyway, yes, he's the guy that I want. Plus, like I mentioned, he's very, very handsome.
Anybody, anything else you guys want to bring up?
You know,
tonight
I
before
have
we-
something since we
Please.
have Tim's talking about stats, and me and my wife were having this conversation earlier, and I'm going to get your guys' advice. I figure it's later in the show where all the kids have went to bed. So Bonnie Blue, since we don't do news anymore on here, me and the wife, you know who Bonnie Blue is, huh, Tim?
No.
Me and my wife were talking about this. So
Wait,
this
yes,
chick,
I don't
Bonnie
know who
Blue,
that
she's
is.
25 years old. She slept with 1,057 men in 12 hours. Broke the record, right? The record was she beat Lisa Sparks, who was 919 in 24 hours in 2004.
Good for
So
her.
the
Her
conversation
father must be
comes
very
up.
Proud.
Yeah, the conversation comes up, me and my wife, and she's like, how many I don't think you tell your wife, right? You don't tell people how many anymore at this age. Did you guys? I mean, what do you guys
All
think
right,
about?
well-
we're all married, right? Everyone's married. in this
Talk about your
box
body
here.
count. I was, but not
If-
anymore. But
If you
Not
have,
because he told his wife how many.
I didn't.
If-
I mean,
yeah, trust me, guys.
-3.
Don't have
Does the
don't
day
have that
count?
conversation.
if you have, and I mean, I'll be honest here. If you have as few as me, yeah, you have no problem telling your wife, because she kind of laughs at you and goes, "Really? Yeah, that's about right." Bonnie Blue's pretty good looking though, man. I mean, I mean,
That's
if
a
you
lot.
walk past her, you might fall in, but like,
Jesus.
good for her. Good
That
for
was-
her.
but imagine being the
57
last guy in line, though. That would be pretty depressing.
Yeah,
And you wear a bag over your head.
I mean, is she just like swiping on her Kindle during the whole thing? Because there cannot be enjoyment after, I don't know, 200-300. Like, there's just got it. I mean, I know that I did read about, I didn't know that was her, but I did hear that record was broken. And like, you had to show up with your negative HIV test and you had to wear protection and everything. My question about this whole thing was it till every dude finishes, or is this just a in and out next, in and out next?
I think there's
It's
someone to
12
finish at the
12
end.
hours.
There's like a
The
fluffer at
last
the
guy,
end.
he gets the pop, right?
So
Imagine being the
here's my-
mopper.
Oh,
God. Here's my question though. So because I'm a stat nerd, so I like to look at rates, right? So 1,057 men in 12 hours. 12 hours is 72 minutes, right?
Yes.
So that's 1.5 minutes per guy.
No,
Like-
12 hours is not 72 minutes.
720.
Oh,
That's
okay. You
better.
said
Just a
72.
So how much is that each guy, Tim?
720. I believe
Okay.
a minute and a half.
90
See,
seconds.
dear, I told you it's normal. Good.
See, there you go. See, that's why stats are good. That's why stats are good.
That's right.
So it has to be
Normalize a minute and a half, and then get me a sandwich.
It has to be in and out and then on to the next then.
Literally.
This can't be because otherwise she'd probably there's no way. But good for her, It's good to have goals.
Is it? Imagine being the father of that, though. Oh my
That's
god!
right,
Yeah.
Your friends
Well,
were probably in line at one time. A couple of
If
them.
I-
Your daughter
if I were
just
to-
finished
yeah.
law school. Look at what Bonnie did.
If I were to gamble, I'm pretty certain the father would not be in the picture on that one.
Yeah, I would think that there's definitely some serious daddy issues hinged on this decision making here by Miss Blue. I hope she got paid a shit ton for that.
Well, she
I
has
gotta tell you,
OnlyFans, I
when-
think.
When I was listening to you guys, like one of my favorite segments was your news segments. We definitely need to bring those back. That was the fucking best.
Yeah,
Because this is fantastic information here.
Just
don't have-
It's either
just-
death or
Yeah,
I'm a
when
funeral
you
guy.
when you bring up your number to your wife, just don't say before or after you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
the way to say married.
yeah. Well,
Wow.
6 before, but since we've been married, 3, 4, 5, yeah, that's not gonna work.
Or if she stands up afterwards and goes, "Got you beat," you're like, "Fuck." But
That's it.
that's it. But Chris, I'll end it on a hockey note for you too. We were talking about Jacques Lemaire, obviously, the Ring of Honor coming up, and I pulled, and I'll actually, if you guys want, I could put it on the Twitter page. I have pulled up. I have a scorecard. I don't know if you can see this. It's actually, you probably can. I'll put it on the Twitter if you got, but it's filled out by Jacques Lemaire actually at the game. And this is the roster from April 6, 97, just to hear some of the names on this roster. Okay.
This is awesome.
Yeah. So it's, they used to hand these over to the timekeepers, and I actually picked up a few of them back in the day.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'll put it up on the twit, but it's so Dunham and Brodeur are your goalies. So Dunham started this game, I guess. It was April 6th, 97. Danico, Stevens, Peterson, Garin, Ralston, McLean, Holik, Carpenter, Pandolfo, McKay, Anderchuk, Odeline, Zelapukin, Needlemeyer, Chambers, Thomas, and Gilmore. Some names for you right there, right?
Dougie
right.
Gilmore, man.
Yeah.
Let's do a quick thing here. Go through those names again slowly and see if we can pick what number each of those wore when they were playing, and then we'll wrap it
Because
up.
they're here actually on this roster
Okay.
sheet. Well, obviously Ken Danico.
3, 1 for me.
And what was he wearing that year? Was he wearing anything that year special, like an A or a C? There
He
you
was
go.
definitely wearing an A.
Scott Stevens.
4 and the
2-0.
C.
2-0 for me. You guys are too slow.
Just so you guys know, there's 2 A's on this team this year. So Peterson.
10.
Yeah, you're correct.
Wow.
Really? Look at that. That is some autistic shit right there.
I'm telling you. I'm surprised you don't do better in the devil you know, man.
I know.
Just don't
Billy
add jersey
Garin.
numbers and we're good.
Yeah.
Who?
Billy Garin.
12?
12.
Yeah. Loved Garin. Brian Ralston.
14.
28. 28.
What happened? No.
14.
Was it 28?
No, I think that was Kevin Dean back in those days of the last 28. I remember in that period of time.
Oh,
But no,
what number was he?
He was 12.
Oh, he
And
was
Ralston's 14.
Yeah,
No,
Ross
wait,
was 14. That's what Bobby never said.
Yep.
What the hell?
You said
McLean.
Rafalski.
15.
He said Rafalski before, didn't he?
No, I said Ralston.
Ralston. I heard Rafalski. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I knew that. Okay. So let's move on.
Johnny Mack.
15, and he was the other A.
Exactly. Bobby
I
Olik.
thought it was Needs.
16.
16.
Bobby Carpenter.
18.
27? No, that's Niedermeyer.
No, Niedermeyer.
You both wrong. So far.
29?
Wait. Bobby Carpenter, 25.
Nope. 19.
19.
Oh, that's my number, too. I should have known that.
Jay Pandolfo.
20.
20.
Yep. Randy McKay. Bobby, you
21.
better know this. Okay.
Maybe don't do them in number. Maybe don't do them in number order.
Well, Lemieux, 22. Scott Gomez, 23.
Anderchuk.
25.
Oh, 23.
23.
No? 23.
23.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone screamed out 25.
That was me.
I think that was
me.
Sack.
I'm just blurting out numbers from the sack, straight from my bag head.
And Odeline.
29.
20,
Yep.
22?
27.
Hold on.
Oh,
Ricky
20
Henderson
something.
had the same number with the Yankees.
24.
Yep. 24.
okay.
Zelapukin.
25.
25, yeah.
Yep. Scotty N.
27. We knew
Yeah,
that.
we all know that one. Chambers.
29.
29.
Chambers,
Thomas.
29? Okay.
Yep. Chambers
Steve
29.
Thomas.
32.
Correct.
Wow. Nice.
And Gilmore.
93.
There you go.
Yeah, 93.
Mike
Who's
Dunham
89?
was 1, right?
Yep. Dunham
Yep.
was
Okay.
one.
What was that Brodeur guy? What do you wear?
Number 30.
He was
29 to start his career.
yeah, that's
right.
right.
Yeah, he was. He was. All right, so we're over an hour. Guys, are we turning us around on Wednesday night when the Bruins come over to the Rock for Jacques Lemaire's induction into the Ring of Honor? I am going to say that they are going to play a good game. They beat Boston. I'm not going to give a score because it'll probably be a 1-goal game, but I do think they're going to play better and they're going to start turning this thing around. But it has to be now, and it has to be with some line changes and mix some shit up. What do you guys think? Tim, you go first.
I think we're due 3-1 with an empty netter. I think they turn it around. The defense has been better. I think we'll still see some offensive struggles. I have no confidence that Keefe is going to change anything with the lines, but this has gone on long enough, and we cannot please don't embarrass us in front of Jacques.
Yeah, that's the idea. Don't embarrass us. Tell him, what do you think?
Every time I predict these games, if I listen to the show the next day, I'm always wrong on these things, man. But it's not next day, so we'll be okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Devils 5-3. I think it's gonna be some goals in this game.
All right, I like that.
I think
It'd
it's
be
gonna
nice.
get nasty finally. Damn it! I think it's gonna get nasty.
Hell yeah.
It'd be nice to have something to root for. And we'll finish up with you, Bobby.
Yeah, we're going to start winning again. We're going to win the next 2 before splitting with the Flyers, and we're going to do this one in the shutout fashion. Let's go 4-0.
There you go.
Ooh,
Bobby the
I like
Brain,
it.
bringing it.
I like it. All
What does
right.
Chris the autistic think?
We are going. If I have to give a score, I'm gonna say, did we do a 4-3 yet? No, I'll take 4-3.
No, I was 5-3, right?
Okay, that's what I'm gonna go with. 4-3. Tied up late in the third, and we get the go ahead goal. 10 minutes left in the game, and we shut it down. And that's what I think is gonna happen. And we miss like 4 open nets, empty nets. What's that?
You're going to kill me. I have one more lineup suggestion before that we can end with.
Yeah.
We bring Nemec up. We go 11-7 and sit the 3C and rotate Jack and Nico in the 3C spot.
Yes.
Okay.
Why not?
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
What are you going to do, Luz?
We could spell Pesce, who's been pretty rough recently. You can give Dougie some rest like everybody wants. They're all fucking wrong.
All right.
Love you.
You and your Dougie Hamilton love.
Love you, Dougie. I want to be the little spoon.
All right, we're gonna wrap this thing up, and we will be back during the week. Probably after.
You think he's at Graves over here?
I know. Is it?
I know.
Bonnie Blue.
Yeah, I think so. I think Tim would definitely be lining up if it was Dougie in Blues.
Do you have a Dougie sock next to your bed, Tim?
Do you? You got a Dougie sock?
I just go raw dog. Come on. Who uses a sock anymore? I'm an adult.
Yeah.
On that note. For Baghead and Bobby, Tony Zamboni, I'm Chris. We are the Uncle Puckers, and we will see you when we see you.
Bye-bye.